It's time to take a deeper look at the Kansas State's men's basketball team as Jerome Tang and his new crew look to get back to the dance for the first time in 3 years.
You are Locked On Kansas State, your daily podcast on the Kansas State Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Kansas State, your daily Kansas State Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Christian Rao, and thank you so much for making Locked On Kansas State your first listen every single day. Welcome back to my everydayers. Today, we are going to dive into a new series called the Basketball Breakdown. We're going to get into every single player on the men's basketball team. We'll do the women's later date. We'll get to all of them before opening tip-off for both the men's and women. But we're going to get to the men because they have an exhibition game this coming Friday against Mizzou. We're going to dive into every single player one by one. We got 3 of them on this episode. We're going to do all of that on this show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if that bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the FanDuel app today. We're going to discuss PJ Haggerty, David Castillo, and Kamari McGriff on today's episode of Locked On Kansas State, your team every day, bringing you Wildcat coverage like no other. We're bringing you player coverage, deep player coverage like no other. And we're going to make sure we do that on every single Kansas State basketball player heading into the season. I'm going to set these up to where you either are a brand new fan, have no idea what Jerome Tang brought in. Maybe you've only been focused on football and you want to shift your focus to basketball. It's getting closer. And if you are a more experienced fan, this could be a nice refresher for you. I want to give a nice introduction to these players because a lot of transfers are coming to Kansas State, so you can get a good idea of who this player is and who you can root for in Manhattan this season. But what a better way, no better way to start off than the All-American coming in to Manhattan, and that's PJ Haggerty. He's the one that's going to really bring the juice to Kansas State this season. There's no doubt about it in my mind. PJ Haggerty is going to be the dude. He's going to be the guy for Kansas State. And let's just kind of break down exactly who he is. Kansas State landed one of the most explosive shooting guards in college basketball. And he's going to not only be the buzz of Manhattan, but he's going to be the buzz of college basketball as he tries to go to that next step, which, of course, is the NBA. And that's why he was looking for a power four coming over from Memphis. We're going to dig into his entire collegiate career because it's super impressive. We're going to do that on this show. PJ Haggerty is a consensus second-team All-American and former American Athletic Conference, the AAC Player of the Year. He's transferred over to K-State, giving head coach Jerome Tang a certified superstar. I think that is a key word here. I think that's a fair word, a certified superstar to build his offense around. And let's do a good breakdown on everything you know about the newest star for Kansas State. It's a good journey because it really is. He's had a huge journey. It started in the Big 12. It's going to end in the Big 12. And that's kind of cool for PJ Haggerty. His path to the Big 12 has been winding, but his production has been consistently elite since his redshirt season. And that redshirt season began with TCU, with the Horned Frogs, a different shade of purple, if you will, playing just in 6 games before he decided to redshirt. And then he moved on to Tulsa. And it was really where he started to break out, was when he was with Tulsa. His time there was nothing short of spectacular. He was named the Kyle Macy National Freshman of the Year. He was also a unanimous AAC Freshman of the Year. And he exploded onto the scene. A phenomenal 21.2 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 6.8 assists, and just under 2 steals per game as a freshman. Yeah, redshirt freshman, sure, but as a freshman. Then after that, he hit the portal once more and headed over to Memphis. Checked it out with Penny Hardaway, and a nice transition. We'll talk about Memphis in just a second, but it was an All-American season for PJ Haggerty. He cemented his status as a national talent at Memphis, as a true NBA talent, and he led the AAC in scoring with 21.7 points while adding just under 6 rebounds at 5.8 per game, 3.7 assists, and just under 2 steals again at 1.8. He earned the consensus second-team All-American honors while he was named the AAC Player of the Year after tying the conference tournament record with his career high, which is 42 points in a single game. It's a remarkable span for PJ Haggerty over the 2.5 years in college basketball. He's become the only Division I player to average at least 21 points 5.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 1.5 steals in each of the last 2 seasons. No other player has done that over the past 2 years. And he's racked up over 1,400 career points, scoring in double figures in an astounding 64 of the 72 games played in his collegiate career. So you can almost expect him to at least get in double digits every single game he plays in Manhattan. Exciting stuff. And of course, there's a fun little trade, if you want to call him, with him coming to Manhattan. He hit the portal. He comes to Kansas State. And if you remember, Doug McDaniel hit the portal, and he's actually at Memphis. It's not how trades work. That's not what college basketball is, but it's a funny thing that we can always talk about this moving forward in the history of Kansas State. What he brings to the court. Let's dive into that next. He's 6'4", 195 pounds. He's physical. He's a relentless scorer, as I've mentioned, and he excels at attacking the basket. He has an elite shot-making ability. He shot over 48% from the field in his career, which is absolutely incredible. His biggest threat, though, is his ability to draw fouls, and that's something that was a huge miss for Kansas State last year, not only in drawing fouls, but not really getting to the free throw line. Well, because of that, PJ Haggerty is able to do that. He leads to an incredible amount of free throw attempts, and he's been top 3 nationally in free throws made and attempted for 2 seasons. He has a career 79.1% free throw line from the charity strike. So all of these things fit the perfect bubble for Jerome Tang correcting his team from last year's disappointment. He's a playmaker. And it goes beyond scoring as well. A true combo guard who stuffs the stat sheet. As we mentioned, we were talking rebounds, assists, steals, points, everything. PJ Haggerty's got it. And his rebounding numbers, which is just over 5 per his career, are excellent for a guard. I mean, you're talking a combo guard that's averaging over 5 rebounds per game. That's exactly what a type of a hard-charging player you're looking for. He's a talented facilitator. I think he's going to look to do that a little bit more this season to maybe try and up his stock in the NBA levels. So I think we might see him, maybe his points might diminish slightly, but his facilitation might go up a little bit. And I think that'll make him a more well-rounded player for the next level. And he averaged just over 3.5 assists this last 2 seasons. I would not be surprised if he shoots for the 5 to 6 mark this coming year. An improved shooter, as I mentioned, one key area of growth was his 3-point shooting. He climbed from 28.9 at Tulsa and all the way up to just under 37% at 36.4 at Memphis. It's a more complete threat of a player with driving the lane, drawing fouls, and of course shooting at the perimeter. PJ Haggerty is tough to guard, and he's proven that he can only improve from Tulsa to Memphis. Makes you wonder what kind of numbers he'll put up at Kansas State. He's a true fit. I mean, he's focused on winning. He's fits every really wicket that was needed last year for Kansas State. And in a recent interview, this happened this past offseason, Haggerty revealed the connection to Wildcats head coach Jerome Tang, and he said it was all about the fit. They wanted to use me in a sense of winning. Coach Tang is very steady, and he always lets his guards play. Coach Tang has been known to really want to make the guard be like another coach on the court. He mentioned that, and I've mentioned this a few times in my show, but it really stuck out to me. When Kansas State was getting ready to play Kansas last season, he was praising the Kansas guards because it felt like they gave Coach Self the idea to have another coach on the field. The court. And that is huge. That's absolutely huge. I think he thinks he has that with PJ Haggerty this season. The trust in Tang's system and the role he's expected to have as a new focal point of the offense was a clear differentiator, I think, for PJ Haggerty joining Manhattan's crew. And the past viral quote also perfectly aligns with the program's philosophy. PJ Haggerty said, "I always felt like if you take care of the name on the front of your jersey, the name on the back will always be taken care of. I'm just a team player." Now, say what you want. Maybe that's just player speak in the minds of trying to look good for the media. I know that PJ Haggerty is looking to go to the next level. He wants to make every scout and manager in the NBA happy, to make sure that his draft stock continues to rise. But I truly think that he believes that. When you look at the way that he plays basketball, if you go back to his Memphis days just last season, if you go back to look how he has looked to be a facilitator, he's looked to be more of a team player. And I think that only improves this year, especially with what the roster that Kansas State has brought. I think there's a lot of excitement this season. Haggerty's expected to be a true engine for Coach Jerome Tang. facilitating scoring threats, where I think he's going to excel in the facilitating thing. I think we might see a little bit lower numbers in the scoring. I don't think he hits 21 for the first time in 2 years, but I think he's still around that 19-20 mark. I don't think it's like a huge diminish, but overall, I think he makes the squad around him that much better because of it. I would rather see PJ Haggerty average 19 points a game with 5 assists than average 21 points per game with 3 assists. I would rather see that all day long, to be completely honest, because that means he's feeding other people, making this offense of Kansas State that much more dangerous. And to me, that makes you an NCAA tournament team. So I think Wildcats fans should be excited for PJ Haggerty if you aren't already. I mean, it's a certified All-American production, and a winning mentality should be in Manhattan this season. I don't think you're going to have that same type of behavior, that same type of culture that you had last year in Kansas State. I think you have a way better culture, and PJ Haggerty leads the charge. He was named preseason All Big 12 team. It wasn't a unanimous decision, though. He was named to it, but wasn't one of the 4 that was a unanimous selection. He joins 2 from BYU, 3 from Houston, 1 from Iowa State, 1 from KU, and 2 from Texas Tech. He's the only player for Kansas State that received this All Big 12 team honor, and I think he should play that with a chip on his shoulder, coming in as the 3rd highest scorer in college basketball last year, and then going into a new conference and not even getting a unanimous selection. I think that should just add a little bit more fire to the fuel for PJ Haggerty. Exciting stuff for this guy, and if you can't tell, I'm very excited to see what Jerome Tang and Matthew Driscoll has for PJ Haggerty, what's in store for Kansas State, and that's why I wanted to lead off with him for our first ever series of the Basketball Breakdown. Before we get back to the basketball breakdown here at Locked On Kansas State, today's episode is brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on new repairs, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you need parts fast for a project, well, Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. Join for free today the Trademaster program and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. You can visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% extra off your first order. That's right, supplyhouse.com, real people, real service. This episode of Locked On Kansas State is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here. FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet and just put down $5, and if it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. It makes watching football even more exciting when you get a little something riding on the action. There's no doubt about that. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to FanDuel.com to get started. Visit the FanDuel app today and check out that good, awesome deal. Put in $5, and if you win, $300 in bonus bets. Next, let's talk about David Castillo on the Kansas State basketball breakdown here, breaking down the men's basketball team. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Locked On Kansas State, bringing you Kansas State Wildcats coverage like no one else. But as you remember, last year, David Castillo joined the Kansas State Wildcats crew as a true freshman, the lone true freshman on the roster. He arrived with high expectations. He had a decorated prep career, if you will, and it was set to be a key contributor as the team was getting ready to make that next step. It really didn't happen, but maybe he will do that again this season. There's been some reports from some really interesting media people. CBS Sports' John Rothstein has his eyes on several rising stars across the Big 12, and one of them that he brought up was Kansas State's David Castillo. According to Heartland College Sports, our good old friend at Joe Tillery, he said Kansas State's David Castillo might be the most intriguing of the bunch. The former four-star recruit showed flashes of his elite scoring ability in limited minutes as a freshman, but with another year in Jerome Tang's program, Castillo looks poised to become one of the league's best next big-time guards. His natural scoring instincts and playmaking potential could make him a focal point for the Wildcats offense moving forward. That'll be a big question, because he's one of only a few players that are returning for Kansas State this season. And if you remember, when the team was eliminated last year from Big 12 tournament, they asked David Castillo right in the locker room if he was planning on returning or hitting the portal, and he said he had no doubt in his mind he was coming back to Manhattan. So one thing is true, that he is dedicated and committed to this program. that's something that should keep you excited. I know that definitely wasn't the case for a lot of the other players that hit the portal, and retention was a huge concern and question mark for Kansas State this past offseason, but not with David Castillo. He's a 6'1" guard. Remember, he's coming from Bartlesville, Oklahoma. He was the all-time leading scorer at Bartlesville High School. He had almost 1,600 points, averaging 24 points per game. They're hoping that they can get to that level, at least very close to Kansas State. He's a two-time gold medalist in USA basketball for 16 and 17U and international competition. And before he got to Kansas State, he transferred from his senior season to a prep school called Sunrise Christian Academy in Kansas to get him ready for college competition. Four-star recruit by many places like 24/7 Sports, sometimes as high as number 45 nationally, coming to Kansas State this past season. But last year, it wasn't impressive. There was a lot of excitement at times, thinking that he could be that next guard because of the issues that were going on potentially behind the scenes with Doug McDaniel, especially in non-conference play when Doug McDaniel wasn't getting the starting jobs. David Castillo had a couple times where he got the start, but he played in 32 games. He only averaged 10 minutes per game. He shot really a pretty tough 22% from the field, including 25% from three-point land. That was probably the toughest thing because I thought he was going to be one of those three-point shooters. At least they tried to make him out to be early in his collegiate career. And he only averaged 2.4 points per game. I think his best game of the season, I think he scored 17 points against UAPB when they won in the Big 12 Big East battle. That's not what that is. But they won against UAPB on the game in that one. But ever since arriving in Manhattan, Castillo's always been described by his coaches and his teammates as an uncommonly mature type of player and vocal leader for a freshman from last season, and of course, moving into that new role as a sophomore. Coach Tang at one point did note that Castillo is not your average freshman, and he doesn't approach the game as a freshman. He had a lot of hype heading into the season last year. His skill set was diverse. Castillo himself stated he can bring shooting, dribbling, passing, defense, everything to the game, and I think he still can. I just don't think that the team was set great for him last year. I think it's going to be a better fit for him now with the new offensive schemes brought by Matthew Driscoll. It just wonders how much time he's going to get, how much more minutes than the 10 that he was already getting with all these new transfers. Do we see David Castillo get into that? He's got great free-throw accuracy, 88% free-throw percentage with his touch, including 8 for 9 for his start. And not many free throws, but he did have a good start to that thing. Work ethic, of course, is something that is really good. But of course, on the court, you have to find a way to have shooting consistency. Early in his college career, struggled to find that offensive consistency and pace. Coach Tang has mentioned a few times this past offseason and during the season this year that his relative inexperience, if you will, can sometimes prevent him from being able to slow the game down. So ever since he's been committed to Kansas State, he committed back in April of 2023, and he signed in November of that year. His decision strongly was influenced by Jerome Tang and the coaching staff. Remember when they asked him why Kansas State, he said the coaching staff and the environment. He said Manhattan reminds me a lot back home, so coming here was kind of another home feeling. He added the coaching staff of role models who helped him build his confidence, and it doesn't help probably moving from that Kansas prep school to keep him in that area. Coach Jerome Tang, on his potential moving into potentially a bigger role this season, said he's going to be an all-conference guard at some point in his career. I think Jerome Tang has a lot of belief in David Castillo. Tang views Castillo as a high-potential player, labeling him as a dude, if you will. And if you know Jerome Tang, that's not a word that he usually uses very lightly. It's a term of endearment, of course, but he previously used it for All-Americans Marquise Noel and for Keontae Johnson as well. So Tang advises him to continue working while he's waiting for consistent playing time. We'll see if that's the same way this season with guys like Marcus Johnson, Nate Johnson, PJ Haggerty, Abdi Bashir, which we're going to get to on these breakdowns, if he can get in there. And he's noted that just an injury to a teammate is all that separates him from consistently playing 25 minutes a night. Of course, that'd be a huge jump from the 10 minutes he had this past season. So it should be an interesting year for David Castillo. I think he has the potential to make a breakout if he gets the minutes. I have a feeling that he hasn't He's working really hard. There has been some reports that have been surrounding through some message boards across Kansas State message boards that David Castillo, some of the vibes around him are that he hasn't had the quote light bulb moment yet for him. So maybe that means that just needs to happen during the season. Maybe that happens in non-conference play. But overall, I can see David Castillo having an impactful season for Kansas State. I think he finds a way to have more than 10 minutes. I don't think he gets buried on this roster, although I think this roster is more talented than last year. I also think David Castillo is more talented. So bank me in for about 14 minutes per game for David Castillo. More if he can find his shooting arc and continue to raise that. Less if, of course, that shooting it becomes still an issue. He can't shoot 20-something% from the field and expect to get more than 10 minutes per game, especially if he's not helping in the facilitation department and maybe on the defensive side for being a somewhat smaller guard on the court. So it all depends on his shooting. I think that he, of course, have worked on that over the offseason. He's a hard worker. His work ethic has been something they've talked about for quite a long time. So consider me on the David Castillo train moving forward this season. If I had to put a prediction, I'm going 14 minutes per game, and I'm going up to 7 points per game for David Castillo. That would be a huge jump forward, but I think he can do it if they give him the opportunity. We'll be right back with the basketball breakdown right here on Locked On Kansas State. But beforehand, this episode is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHF's Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August of 2025. And with the all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. So like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Next, let's get into newcomer Kamari McGriff, coming over from UNC Wilmington, 6'9" forward, heading into Manhattan. Should be a really solid player for Jerome Tang as he looks to establish a bigger presence and hopefully can improve the rebounding game, something that struggled so much last year for Kansas State. He arrives at Kansas State as a grad transfer with successful background at UNC Wilmington, originally from Tallahassee, Florida. McGriff attended James S. Rickards High School, where he was part of the 2020 Class 5A state championship team as a junior. He spent 4 seasons at UNCW, where he was part of a winning program that posted at least 20 wins in all of his seasons, bringing a winner mentality with him to Jerome Tang's team in Manhattan. Gotta love that. His production saw a significant jump over his final season last year, where he embraced the role as one of the top 6 men in the Coastal Athletic Association, the CAA, and you gotta love the improvement as well. Going from the CAA to the Big 12 is a huge jump. Can he do that? That'll be an interesting thing to find out for sure. Career totals so far with him at UNCW, he had 85 games. Inside those 85 games, had 539 points, 261 rebounds, and 70 blocks. The shooting splits, though, are pretty impressive. Field goal percentage, 67.9%, and shoots 67.4 from the charity strike. Not bad for a big guy at 6'9". He was the All-CAA tournament team member, a recipient of the CAA Dean Ellers Leadership Award, and he's also helped lead the Seahawks, the UNCW Seahawks, to a 27-8 overall record, winning both the conference regular seasons and the tournament championships, reaching the NCAA tournament last season. So you bring winner mentality. You bring someone who has won a conference championship. They know what it feels like. Someone who's participated in the big dance in the NCAA tournament. They know what it feels like. PJ Haggerty also knows what it feels like as well. You're bringing in players that have that type of winning mentality, and you absolutely have to have that moving forward. 11.6 points per game, 4 rebounds, and just over a block per game. Last season, he scored in double figures 22 times and posted a career-high 34 points on 14 of 16 shooting in a game at Howard. He's a 6'9", 210-pound forward. He's known for versatility. He's known for his efficiency and his ability to play multiple positions, something that'll come in handy for Kansas State. To excel on both ends of the floor makes him a valuable asset for not only Jerome Tang and Matthew Driscoll, but the entire Kansas State roster. Finishing and efficiency will be his main bread and butter. His primary strength is scoring efficiency, highlighted by a 65.1 field goal percentage in his final season at UNCW, and he's a highly effective interior scorer, as we mentioned. He's got defensive prowess, and I think that's huge. He's got to have strong rebuilding skills. That's what he did in the CAA. If he can continue those strong rebounding skills, I think you'll see him have a huge year inside the Big 12. If we had to put a weakness on it, of course, there's always weaknesses. He primarily operates as a forward, using his side and athleticism. But, his high field goal percentage, low assists, 3-point volume suggests that his offensive game is focused on the post near basket opportunities. So his not really anything on the perimeter. His most successful college season came in a crucial 6-man role. So where he provided efficient scoring came off the bench. So if you had to put any type of weakness on it, I'm not assuming that he's going to be a guy that can completely take over the front court for Kansas State. Probably somebody who's coming off the bench. If he is a starter, it's probably at a rotational minute type of players with other ones on the roster. But I do think he's got a good fit. Tang broke down what he likes about McGriff. This came out recently when they did this thing. Jerome Tang talked about all the transfers that came in on social media. I thought it was an excellent thing that Jerome Tang did. But he said our interest in Kamari was first his versatility at the forward spot, his ability to be a rim protector, run the floor, and finish in transition. He's excellent at the pick and roll. He's also just a winner. He played in the NCAA tournament last year, and his team at UNC Wilmington was just super competitive. We're excited about him being here. You got to really like that a lot, just knowing that you're bringing in a winner. It doesn't sound like, is he going to be like a David Gasson? That's interesting. Maybe he will have to do that because they're going to have to find a way to replace him. But having somebody who's explosive at the pick and roll will be very important for a guy like Anthony Bashir, PJ Haggerty, David Castillo, Marcus and Nate Johnson, some of those other ones who are trying to run the point this coming season. He's a long athletic forward. This is, again, talking about Jerome Tang, talking about McGriff. He is actually 2 for 3 from 3 last year, so I told him he didn't shoot enough threes. Something to keep in mind there. Big-time finisher in traffic, and then he's just a high-energy guy. When he went into the portal, obviously we knew we needed what we needed on our end, just more versatility from the forward spot, but really we needed leadership and maturity, maybe a shot towards last season's roster, but either way, quote, he says, he brings that to the table. Just a mature young man who is very focused about his craft and getting better, but also understand the big picture that it takes a team and we need everybody holding the rope, and he's committed to helping getting that done. Sounds like a true Tang guy. Sounds like somebody who's looking to build the culture, somebody who's looking to build the buy-in with Kansas State, the buzzwords that we continue to hear over and over last season. And this is exactly what you're trying to look for when you're building a new roster, trying to get the retention model to come back to Kansas State, maybe bring in shades of the Houston model that Jerome Tang absolutely loves so much. And he talked about all offseason. If you can continue to do that with guys like this who may not have eligibility left, but can continue to carry the rope and pass on the torch with that type of buy-in, that's absolutely what you're looking for moving forward. That's going to do it for this episode of these basketball breakdowns here at the Locked On Kansas State podcast. I hope you like these. We're going to continue these on. We're going to talk every single player for the rest of the week heading into Friday's exhibition game. Do not worry, though, if you are looking for more football coverage, especially because there's a huge game. I don't know if you're know this. Next week, Kansas taking on Kansas State. We'll have plenty of that covered for you. That just means you're probably going to get 2 episodes of Locked On Kansas State every single day. I appreciate you being an everydayer. Thank you for making Locked On Kansas State your first listen of the day. For your second listen, go check out Locked On Big 12. Drake Toll breaks it down with the most exciting conference in college sports, from the rivalries to the championship and even the games in between. Find Locked On Big 12 on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you back here next time, right here on Locked On Kansas State.